So in Paraguay, Asuncion is predominantly Catholic, as most South American countries are. The mission is pretty much just Asuncion, and then it reaches out about, I don't know miles, because I never calculated that, I never had a map, but it's about a 4-hour bus drive to where the new boundaries are. I was actually there when it was just Paraguay Asuncion y Asuncion Norte, and now there is Argentina Posadas, which is kind of down in the bottom part of Paraguay, so it kind of encapsulates some of those cities over there. But it basically is pretty much just Asuncion, and Asuncion is it's a growing city. It's still South America, definitely South America. The main city, Centro, is there's lots of new businesses. There's lots of commerce. They have a pretty big farming market there. There's lots of plants and food that is grown there and then shipped out to other places in South America. So that's probably one of their biggest things that they sell and produce there. And then outside of Asuncion, like the city part, there's just miles and miles and miles of just prime suburb for missionaries to just go talk to thousands and thousands of people. So it's kind of cool because there's just so many people. Everyone's outside. Everyone is just walking around. There's very their houses are very small. So they're usually spending most of their time outside, which is just incredible for missionary work. You just can go and run around and talk to so many people about the gospel, which is just incredible. Like in a certain day, I would do around 50 or 60 contacts of just talking to people just on the road. And that just includes just going from one lesson to another, and you just see men on the street, and you just go run over there and talk to them, and they usually they'll talk to you. You know, they're not super cold people. They'll be very inviting, and they'll talk to you for a couple minutes. The mission is, I actually worked in the office, so it was kind of cool because I got to travel around to the different areas and see the majority of what the mission was really like. And it is mostly that small suburb where there's just small houses, lots of people. Usually in a small house, you will have around 10 to 15 people. You'll have the grandparents, the family, and then children. So it's really incredible. It's just an incredible opportunity for missionaries to go there and do well. The mission had, I can't remember exact numbers, but we had around 6 or 7 stakes and then around 7 or 8 districts. So the stakes were mostly in Asuncion, so right in the capital right there. And then as you go a little farther away, there's just more little smaller districts, especially in kind of the middle part of Paraguay. So the mission is still growing a lot. Right when I left, I think they were putting in a new stake. There are stakes and districts always being upgraded, and because there's lots of people getting baptized, it's getting a lot bigger than what it used to be. It's a relatively new mission. Paraguay, I think the first missionaries were there in somewhere around the 50s, I think. But the mission of Paraguay started in like 1977 or something, so it's relatively new, but missionaries have been there for a while. So I served in the second to oldest ward, Amambay, and it was pretty interesting actually because I got to talk to a couple people that were like one of the very first converts in the area, and they were just incredible. They had so many stories of the history of how the church had grown and how just their one little branch had become an entire mission of people. So it's pretty awesome. Something interesting that I was not expecting was the quantity of people that I would be talking to every single day. With Paraguay, it is very, very easy to make contacts just because everyone is outside, just talking or working or doing whatever they are doing outside because it's pretty hot. And so in a day, like I said, I'd contact around 50 people, and then I'd have lessons in between then. And weekly we would have hundreds of contacts. So we'd be talking to hundreds of people, and you'd be writing their names down, trying to remember their address, trying to remember everything, writing it all down. And it was pretty interesting just because you have such a big, you just have such a big quantity of people at the beginning, and then as you continue to progress with people, they get narrowed down and narrowed down. And so you'd be talking to a person, you'd be talking to multiple people in a day, and then, you'd probably never seen that person again, but, just with the amount of people that you have, you just can keep narrowing it down, and then there's always people there looking for the gospel, so it's definitely growing. A lot of the people there, for some reason, think that we're spies from the United States. Paraguayans have, aquifers underneath the ground or wells of water, and they always think that we're there to steal their water, which is not true. We have plenty of water, so that was weird. So every day, it was not every day, it was probably every other day, we'd have someone come be like, espías, which just means spies. Be like, no, we're missionaries, we want to talk to you. If we were spies, we'd be hiding from you, not going out and trying to talk to you. So we'd have a lot of people talk to us about that, which is fun, and it was great. Conversation started, and then we kind of bring it into their family or whatever. So that was a lot of fun. A lot of them didn't understand what our purpose was. A lot of them just thought we were just going out and just trying to help people, which is what we were doing, obviously, but they didn't understand that we were really preaching the true gospel of Jesus Christ. There are other missionaries there, so they're pretty familiar with Jehovah's Witness and Jesuits and stuff. So their missionaries are not uncommon in Paraguay, so they're pretty used to that. But it was really fun and really interesting to just let them know of our purpose and what we were doing as missionaries. Probably the hardest thing to get an investigator to progress. Reading the Book of Mormon sometimes was an issue. Some of them can't read very well, and some of them feel very ashamed or embarrassed that they can't read. So a lot of the times we would just try and read with them or help them out, or find someone that did know how to read that would be able to read to them. Just because the education isn't incredible there, and a lot of the people didn't learn how to read very well. So that was one of the hard things. Everyone knew how to pray pretty much, and they were always very willing to pray. They're very in tune with God. From their already religious background, most of them were already Catholic, and were very willing to pray with us and at home. So that was never an issue. Probably one of the hardest things in Paraguay is trying to get them to church on Sunday. That is hands down. If I could go back, I would try and help more people get to church. Usually the chapels are within walking distance of your area, so it's never more than a 10 or 15 minute walk. And people in Paraguay are very used to walking. And there's small buses that take people around, but the main transport would be walking or a motorcycle, or los motos, as they call them. And they have church early in the morning, so it's usually at around 8 to about 11. Which is pretty early. I don't think in the United States we even have church that's that early, but they have sacrament meeting as their last meeting. So normally you'll go to church and they'll start off with priesthood and then Sunday school, and then you'll go to sacrament meeting. And I think they do that in hopes that the later hour will attract more people to be able to come to church and partake of the sacrament, which it does. There's lots more people that show up during sacrament. But those Sunday mornings you wake up, and that's not, for the missionary, it's not a day of rest. It's a day to work as hard as you can for the Lord. So it's those first couple hours in the morning are good and stressful, because you're just trying to round up all your investigators that you committed to come to church. So you're just running around in your suit, just trying to bring people to church and have them participate in the church services. But every time, I don't know the statistic, but I mean, it is significantly, the people that get to church get baptized. I mean, it's just incredible to see those numbers. Once they can go to church and feel the Spirit in the sacrament meeting, it's almost impossible for them to deny that the Holy Ghost is there and that they're on the right path. So I would definitely recommend just focusing on getting people to church. The members there are incredible. They'll always help out. They need a little bit of motivation sometimes. They just need direction from the missionaries. The temple is in Moroni, which is kind of funny because it's Moroni. But it's a beautiful, pretty new temple. 2002 is when it was dedicated. It actually sits in the North Mission, so we weren't able to go very often. I think I think you usually go twice a year. And then I actually had a companion that baptized someone in his first year, and then they were able to get sealed, husband and wife, the next year. So I was his companion during that time, and we actually got to go to the temple with him. So I think I went 3 times, but it's always an incredible experience. It's in a really nice part of the city, and I started out in Coronel Bogalo, which is just a teeny little town, just in the middle of nowhere. And then I went to Libertad, which is it's like a suburb of Asuncion. It's really great. It's next to Luque, which is close to the North Mission too. And then I went to the office, Barrio Herrera. That is where everyone comes for zone meetings and zone conferences and changes and whatnot. And then once they leave, obviously. So I was in the office for a while, and I helped just organize everything like that. I was the mission administrator, so I just was working on making sure that everyone had correct supplies in their houses, like Book of Mormons and pamphlets, and making sure that their apartments had beds and the necessary living things. After I went to after Barrio Herrera, I went to Ita, which is it's in the middle of Paraguay. It was an incredible experience. That was probably one of my favorite areas, just because it was pretty wild. It was like a typical, like what you think of when you think of like South America. Just dirt roads everywhere, just little trails that lead you to one random house that accepts you and then gets baptized. I had so many stories there that were just so incredible. And then my last area was right in the middle of Centro, and that was Amambay. So I got a little taste of everything. I got in the middle of nowhere, kind of the jungly area, and then the city, and then the suburbs. So I saw it all. It was an incredible experience. So.